Hello! Welcome back. I'm John.
I'm Sierra.
And this is And They Were Readers. Did you like the new intro? I think there should be a new intro, correct?
I hope so.
Let's find out.
We'll find out. We haven't filmed it yet.
We
So
haven't
we
filmed
don't
it
know.
yet. Maybe there's a new intro. Did you like it? Tell us. So what are we doing today? Today we're doing a wrap-up.
Yeah, what we've been reading recently. I'm back, baby. Okay, I haven't read as much as I wanted to, but I've been reading I just have been reading good books, and that feels so good.
I agree.
So
Yeah,
pretty excited about that.
good books in the new year. I'm excited to talk about them. There's some bangers in here, honestly. The book that I came into 2025 reading was...
I got it back. I have Beautyland back. Sorry. Also, so random. So, this is not for the video. But, do you have leg hair?
What?
I've been wondering this for, the past few days.
What?
Because I don't think I ever remember you having leg hair.
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
I can't imagine it. I
It's
keep
not,
looking at your legs in my head.
excessive.
And I can't see any hair.
When you
I don't
picture
know
my
if it's-
legs, they're just completely bare.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But, I try to put hair on them, and I can't find the shape. I don't know.
The shape of my leg hair?
Yeah.
Do you want me to pull on my leg?
Kind of. But, is it... Because your hair has... It's not your hair texture.
It's just... This feels so weird. I'm definitely leaving this in because this
don't
is
show
crazy.
that.
No, I won't. But there's hair.
Oh.
You thought I was lying to you?
No, it's closer to, my dad's shape.
Yeah, that's my leg hair. There's hair.
Yeah, it's just so thin.
Yeah, it's not thick like some people.
Like me.
It's not
My
super
leg
noticeable.
hair, she thick. I don't know how, but it's crazy.
Okay.
Anyway, I was thinking about that. I was like, I can't imagine
Are
my
you
hair.
scared of my leg? I think it's not distinct enough.
Not
yet.
at all.
Thank you, I think.
I've seen you for years.
We had 35 minutes before you turned the camera on for you to ask that question.
I forgot it until now, and I don't know what made me think about it now.
Anyway.
So what did you read? What did you read? You read this?
Yeah, what do you think I brought? Oh, I see. I messed up. You threw me off all of a sudden. I'm so discombobulated now. Okay.
He brought books that he has not read.
This is true.
And just asked me, why do you think I brought this?
You asked me about my leg hair and questioned its existence to the point where I questioned its existence. Okay.
Drink some water. Take a deep breath.
Drink your water. Anyway, so...
This is so exciting!
The book that I came into 2025 reading is Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. So as many of you probably know, this has been turned into a Studio Ghibli movie. Ghibli, whichever. And it is a stunning movie visually. And
so
the story.
pretty. The story
and the sound.
is a little chaotic,
so
and I love it so much.
The story is a little confusing. Filled in the blanks. Okay?
Oh,
Let me tell you.
that's great.
There's so much that happens in this book that the movie just honestly doesn't have time for.
It could. It's such a short movie.
Yeah, but I feel like we would have gotten bored. I forgot what inspired me to read this, but I saw this cover looking around one day and I was like, well, I have to have that cover.
When? Where were you?
I don't remember.
I wasn't with you.
Yeah. So I just purchased it. Crazy. But it was...
Is this right after the purchase ban we put on
No,
ourselves?
I bought this in November of last year.
Oh.
Yeah. So, okay, this follows a woman named Sophie. If you see the movie, you know all this. And then there's a wizard named Howl who lives in a moving castle. Howl's Moving Castle. Sophie works in a hat shop, and then she meets the Wizard of the Waste, which is so confusing with Wicked being around. The Wicked Witch of the West. Sorry, the Witch of the Waste. So every time I read it, I was like, oh, it's Elphaba? No, Elphaba would never do that. So the Witch of the Waste turns her old. That's how the story begins. She turns her into an old woman, and she honestly, I don't know what her coping mechanisms are, but I need them because she gets turned into an old woman, and she's like, cool, yeah, that's
it's
fine.
That in the movie too.
Yeah, it
She's
is.
and I'm here now,
Yeah.
and I love that message.
She's like, and I'm old now, and I'm gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go walk into the mountains and get this figured out.
Yeah.
So she finds Howl's Castle. Basically, just barges her way in. There's a little fire demon named Calcifer. Love Calcifer.
I love him so much.
There's another little wizard in training. I forget his name. But in the movie, they make him, a child. He's not a child in the book.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
He's
funny.
he's just a young man, but he's not a child. Sophie has two sisters. And
Whoa.
yeah, in the movie, you have no idea. But the two sisters are kind of important to the plot of the book.
Which probably makes the plot make more sense.
Make more sense, yeah. There's like this whole love triangle. And Howl is known as this like promiscuous man. He gets around. He like likes to make girls fall in love with him and then kind of leave. Like he loves attention. A little problematic little boy. And that's, I guess I'll kind of leave it there without spoiling it because you can watch the movie. But I did appreciate the writing. There are some points when I was a little bored. But I was happy to have the blanks filled in of this movie that I love so much.
And that's such a pretty cover.
It's gorgeous. There's a point where the book just kind of tells you that Howl is from Wales.
Wait, I thought it was a made-up world.
It is.
But he's from Wales.
He's from Wales.
Okay.
You know, like how he has that door, and like it changes color and takes you to a different place. And there's one place, I think it's like the black color that you're not supposed to go to. That door takes you to real life Wales.
That's so funny. That's actually really funny. So the first book I read this month, like into the new year, was Orbital. I started it at the end of 2024, and a lot was happening. And I finally got through it at the beginning of this year, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I read a lot in the past week and a half, actually.
Wow.
How do I describe this book uniquely? Probably not. I'm
in a way that we
just
haven't
same.
done already.
Yeah, I know. I'm just gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
So basically, you have these astronauts or cosmonauts who are on the space station, and they're orbiting the Earth, and they orbit the Earth multiple times in a single day. And so each chapter is looking at the orbit, or orbit ascending, orbit descending. So it's a part of the orbit, or a whole one, and you get their reflective thoughts on humanity, on nature, on existence. You get to see small conversations between characters or how they became an astronaut. And you get these vignettes through those orbits, and you get to like think about humanity in a different way. And I think it's a beautiful contemplation on our existence and on innovation and on collaboration and on societal structures. I just thought it was really well done and really enjoyed the book. So I gave it a 4.75. And someone in the comments the other he's okay. Someone in the comments was like, if I want to read a book again, that's an automatic 5-star for me. And so like that's not a true statement for me, but it is a book that as I was reading it, I was like, I have to read this again.
I'll be back.
So it's definitely a book that I want to reread because I think I'll gain new insights that I had never gained before. One of the things that I loved about this book was how they talked about positionality. So one of the moments you are looking at a picture, she describes the picture, and in the picture there's a person who's taking the photo, and then there's two people inside of a module, and then you can see Earth. And in that one photo, you see almost all of humanity, except for that one person taking the photo, but also no humans, and the most human part about the whole picture is the person taking it. And I was sitting there and I was like, that's so brilliant. That's how I think about information in general. Like I'm constantly thinking about the multiple perspectives and aspects and how we can take one moment and unpack its meaning. And sometimes things aren't meaningful inherently, but as humans, we attribute meaning a lot of the times to things. And I think it helped me reflect on how I do that and when I do that and why I do that. So I think that's really beautiful.
Wow. So my next few books. This is the Rising Trilogy by Pierce Brown. There are more books to the series, but like this is a complete trilogy in and of itself. So, we have Red Rising. Okay, this is Red Rising number 1.
It's so little.
It's the smallest of the
compared to all the other ones?
Every time I started a new book, it got bigger. And I was like, Pierce, please.
And outside of the trilogy, they're even so much longer.
And what?
Outside of the trilogy?
They're longer?
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if I get there.
Yeah, sure.
I know Brittany Broski loves these books, and it was honestly her that got me back into them because she, on her podcast one day, was like dissecting them, and I was like, fine. Okay, Brittany.
Okay, Brittany.
So, Red Rising, I've talked about it before a little bit. So, we're in this futuristic sci-fi dystopia where we have colonized? Sure. Inhabited all the planets in our solar system.
Nice.
And moons. So we start on Mars. Our main character, his name is Darrow. Society is stratified by colors. Red is at the bottom. They're like kind of the like physical laborers. At the very top is gold. They're like the head of society. Like some colors see them as like godlike. You have blues who are techie and do space stuff. You have yellows who are like medical. You have whites who are like religious, ceremonial figures. You get it. Without going into too much, it's hard to talk about these books without spoiling stuff.
You can't.
You can't. It's very Hunger Games with space is the vibe, I think. I never read Hunger Games, but I watched them.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay,
but
cool.
it's not the same concept.
No.
It's very much the, like, battle war type of vibe in space and, like, societal stratification. So those are the similarities between Hunger Games and this book.
So this one...
I did read this. For context, I read
She read this one.
Yeah. Before you.
Correct.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Who is she?
This one focuses on kind of like his learning process, our main characters. There's like this big battleground for students.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
That's the main part of
so
this
much
book.
Of the
That is this book.
And that was the part that I didn't love.
That's fair.
I liked the beginning.
So there's a lot of like strategy involved in that part because it's like these houses that are pitted against each other. You gotta outsmart, outwit, survive. Ooh. And he does. And it gets him acclaim. Like, how do you say that?
You said it.
No. Universally? Globally? No, because there's multiple. It gets him acclaim throughout the lands, which leads us into Golden Sun.
But you can't say anything.
Correct, I know. This one is more political. They're still fighting. This is the one where I started to get a little bit mad at our main character, Darrow. And it wasn't completely justified. Darrow has so much faith in humanity. So much faith in humanity. To the point where, like, people will betray him left, right, and center, and he will keep giving them another chance, which is so beautiful and admirable. But I was like, dude.
But you're not realistic in this society.
Correct. But it's
okay.
like, that's cute. Like, there's trust and friendships that he made in the first book, and he knows deep down that a lot of those people are good people, but they keep turning their backs on him, except for Severo. If you know, you know. Severo is the GOAT. Severo is loyal to the end. I love him. If they turn him into a movie, I'm so excited to see them play Severo because he's such a cool character. So the first one is a lot of like strategy fighting. These two get a little bit more political.
That's fun.
Because this is when they really try to do the whole societal upheaval.
Ooh, I might actually like that.
Yeah. And it gets intense.
Some of the battles in that book, I was like, we're still battling. Yeah, like, I was so bored.
In the first book, you don't even meet the person who's in charge of, like, the whole society. Yeah. It's in these two books where, like, oh, it's that person.
I like
we
that
kind of
choice.
take them down. I agree.
I like that choice.
Yeah. Because the first book is a complete one in and of itself. You can read it and be like, that was a cool story.
Yeah, that's true.
But then you get into these and they're like, oh, now we're, like, doing the thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it did keep me on my toes. They do get longer as they go, so prepare yourself.
But not by too much.
Not by too much.
Is it like 400 or something?
The third one? Basically 500.
Almost 500.
Yeah.
Almost 500, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it's cool. They explore a lot. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. Highly recommend.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, my next read is The Lion Women of Tehran by Marjan Kamali, I think. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, I got it right. Okay. I love literary fiction. This one is literary, a little bit of contemporary fiction, historical for sure. So this novel follows two women who were raised in Tehran in like, what year was it? Because I don't have the book in front of me. Like the 40s? Because then you like speed up to the 70s and kind of see what's happening, and then you end up, like the epilogue is in 2000 something, like 2020 maybe, looking at what's happening in history. So you're following these two women who become friends as children, and then you see how their lives change because of the political system in Tehran, and like societally, like one is richer than the other, and so what happens to their families and how they get educated. Which I love education, first of all. I love friendship. This story is all about friendship, and it's so cute. And it also really talks about how society can change in the blink of an eye for you as an individual within that society when people have power and like abuse that power. And I think that this author did a really good job of sharing the history of Iran and like the culture and really celebrating the culture while also showing like the hardships along with the regime change. And like first it was the Shah, and there was two thoughts about the Shah. One, there was a lot of like frustration because they like kicked out the previous kings. And then there's also this faction of people who wanted the Communist Party to be in power because the idea was that democracy and capitalism didn't match with the culture of Iran. And so the Shah was really good friends with like democratic powers. So like that was the contention that you're watching, and it's like no, like when you're reading it, the way she writes it, you kind of feel like no one's wrong. Like everyone has really good arguments, and I liked that. Yeah. I liked that you were getting this viewpoint from a 14-year-old girl, and like, yeah, I can see why you are totally for this. I'm with ya. And then see the other perspective and be like, I get it too. like I think that they did a really good job of showing that. While also being like, dang, like the policing that was happening under the Shah was really sad and dangerous and harmful. I think that was well done too. It was really well written. And then all of a sudden the religious fundamentalists come in. So they've been fighting against the Shah for so long as the Communist Party, but the Communist Party is not the one that ends up in power. It's like the religious fundamentalists who then require all the women to wear hijab. And like, I think the hard thing about that is if you want to wear hijab, like you should be able to have the choice to. And so I'm not Muslim, so I don't know all of like the nuances of that. So I'm sorry if I'm saying things wrong. But according to this book, the women who were in the book were writing about this to each other in a letter and talking about how like they blinked and now she does not have the rights that she used to, and how they were making so much great progress as a country, and then for her and from her perspective, she felt like they walked backwards because she no longer has this choice, and I think that could reflect how maybe I'm personally feeling about the politics. And I think I just felt really seen, even though it's a completely different culture and time period, that like women throughout history have been like fighting for equality and equity, and that it's like anyone who thinks that like the U.S. is so far ahead or whatever, like that's just like it's like so one-sided, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's like what this book did a really good job of, is it wasn't one-sided. Yeah. I rated it above a 4. I'm not gonna tell you what. But it's not a 5-star read. The writing wasn't like perfect, but the writing was beautiful. So that's my thoughts on that book. It's hard to talk about like culture that's not yours, so like bear with me. But I think she did a great job of portraying that and then bringing the perspectives of the U.S. and Iran as well. Yeah.
At the same time, I love books like that because there's like a universality to human stories where like even though it's a culture that you don't like consider yourself a part of, or a religion that you're not a part of, it's still something that can apply to you today, which is why it's so important to read books from like different parts of the world, different perspectives. Absolutely. Because it still has applications for you wherever you are. So I like that.
Absolutely. And that was the book that came out last year, so that's one of the newer releases.
Okay, so next I listened to Book Lovers.
That's why.
This was a book that we both got each other in our Boo Basket video.
Yeah, it's so cute.
Baskets. You see me looking at the back of this because I did already forget most of what this book was about. Which is tough. And in my storygraph review, I finished the book and I immediately said, this book is forgettable.
Oh, that's so tough.
It's tough. And it's not that it was like bad. It wasn't bad. But it wasn't like gripping. It didn't feel believable at some points. Like the main characters, I was like, do you love each other? Is that what's happening? Basically we follow Nora and Charlie. And Nora is a literary agent and Charlie is something similar. He's also in the book world. I can't remember the difference. But stuff happens. Nora and her sister are really close. Her sister's name is Libby. And there's a book that comes out about this small town, and it like kind of put the small town on the map. And Libby's like, hey, let's get away from New York. Let's go to this small town and just like, vibe. And Nora's like, okay, sure. They go, and it happens to be the small town that Charlie is also from. So like they run into each other, and it's like it's kind of like an enemies to lovers thing because they were like they met up about a book, and Charlie was like dismissive, and Nora was like, you're so full of yourself. And then they like meet each other, and then they're like, maybe he's kind of cute. You know how romances go. And like things happen. Sure, it's fun. I've heard a lot of... So many
pages.
It's a lot of pages, but thank God I listened to it because if I was reading it, I think it would be DNF. Even though I don't do that, I feel like...
silly.
But I've heard that this one is one of Emily Henry's weaker books.
There's a reader's guide.
Yeah, I think she
For
does
what?
that. But yeah, it was
cute.
it was fine. It was cute. I'm gonna continue reading Emily Henry. This is my second one. And I know that most of them are better. Maybe not People with Me on Vacation, but we're gonna keep going and see. This was good, and the reason I chose to get into it was after the Rising Trilogy. I was in so much war, strategy, politics, and I was like, let's take a break. Let's maybe read a little romance, low stakes.
Yeah.
And it didn't exactly deliver what I wanted, but it was good enough.
Are you gonna try to jump to Abby Jimenez next if you do
maybe
rom-com to break up the intensity of your reading?
So here's the thing: I already own People We Meet on Vacation.
Got it.
And it's on my shelf, and that's what we're doing this year.
We're gonna read books on our shelf.
We're reading the books on our shelves, so I'm gonna do that first, and then maybe I'll go back to Abby Jimenez. But I'm gonna keep going because what this led me into was let me read a kind of romance that I knew I enjoyed the first one of. So this is Find Me by Andre, I think you say Asaman, I think. This is the sequel, kind of, to Call Me By Your Name. So, if you read Call Me By Your Name or you've seen the movie, great story, great books, very, it's inspired so many people to go to Italy and live their Italian summer life, and I love that for you.
That's so cute.
While the first book follows just Elio, this follows Elio's father, first, then Elio, and then Oliver, and then kind of back to Elio. So, it's a few years into the future, maybe 10, 15-ish, and Elio's living in Rome, and Oliver has moved back to the States. Elio's father is going to visit him. He's on the train, and he meets this woman. They start talking, and their banter is really good. The way that they interact is really interesting. The way Andre Asaman writes subtle intimacy is really persuasive and believable, and I appreciate that. And it's really beautiful writing.
Question: is this a sequel?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
so there's no Find Me movie.
No Find Me movie.
That was difficult in my Google search just now.
Sorry.
I was like, this movie doesn't exist.
No, yeah, there's no Find Me movie. Yeah, devastating. If you've seen the movie, you know the ending scene of that movie where Timothée Chalamet is crying into the fire gets me every time. Every single time. If you know, you know.
Never seen it.
I know.
I know.
Should, yeah. Anyway. That's Find Me.
We'll do a movie book series where Sierra catches up on all the movies that John's watched.
Maybe I'll do a video talking about all the books I've read that have been turned into on-screen adaptations and explain which one I like better, get into it.
And I'll just be here.
And she'll interview it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I didn't love the book. There wasn't much plot. I think I gave it a 3.5, 3.75.
Heard.
It was fine. I gave Book Lovers a 3.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was a mid book.
It was mid.
Yeah.
Yep. Your turn.
Okay, next I read The White Book by Han Kang.
Yeah, you did.
Because We Do Not Part is a book that was translated and dropped last week, and so I bought it.
Yeah.
In a fit of chaos.
Yeah, it happens.
It was on sale, and I was like, okay, yeah. And so then because of that, I've been wanting to read The White Book, and on that same site, it was used. The White Book was used, so.
Good.
It was not thrifted, and my brain was like, what is the word?
Got it, okay.
So that's why it looks like it's a library book, but it's not. It's mine now. And they blacked out the library, but you can still read it, which is really funny to me. It was from DC.
Oh,
anyway, cool. This book was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize. There's no plot. I loved it. I ate this up. So basically the context of this book is a bunch of white things that she describes and unpacks their meaning. And there is a plot. You follow... How do I explain this without spoiling it? I think that's the brilliance of this book, is that you end up reading from the perspective of a mother and an unborn child. A child who was born... Actually, they're not unborn. They got born, and then they died immediately. And so, you read, from the perspective...
Is that a spoiler?
It's in the first chapter.
Okay.
Because that happens very quickly.
Okay.
And then you read from, these varying perspectives, and you don't know who you're reading from until you're in it, because it's always first person, and then all of a sudden you're like, this isn't the mom. And I think that's the brilliance of her writing, is that you can translate it, and it still holds this weight of being within characters and in their minds and experiencing, what it means to have the significance of white, the color, in society and in life from these varying different moments and perspectives. And there's like this through line of like a very loose baby plot, but it's mostly about the contemplation on the color white.
Interesting.
And I loved it. It's actually like, okay, if I were to order my books from this author, she's probably my favorite author.
Yeah, that's fair.
Of all time. I've read almost all of her books.
Almost all. All the books I've talked about so far, from my shelf. And they had been on my shelf for a while.
Now he's going to talk about ones that aren't on his shelf that he purchased.
Yes, these are books that I was scrolling through the comment section one day and decided that money was no object. Can you do that? No. So this is Beautyland. This is by...
Every time you say it.
It sounds like Beautyland.
Beautyland.
This is Beautyland. I talk fast. I don't enunciate. By Marie-Helene Bertino. Love this cover. So this follows a girl named Adina, who is born the same day that we launch, is it Voyager 1?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have zero confidence. Is it, what year was that?
Yeah, it just says that.
No, I know. I was trying to look for the year. Is it 1977? 1977. So on Voyager 1, if you're unfamiliar, we collected a lot of different parts of Earth and humanity.
In the United States only, or?
Good question. Don't remember. But it was like nature sounds, some like music, like a baby crying, things like that, and shot it into space. And we were like, if there's life out there, then
this is us.
Yeah, this is us. This is what we do here. This is what we represent. And then on the same day, Adina was born. And Adina is an alien that was sent to Earth to report back on humans and society.
She sends like little faxes back to the aliens.
So as she goes out, she gets this fax machine. That fax machine is how she communicates with her aliens. I appreciate the way that Marie-Helene Bertino, I don't have to say her whole name.
Just really funny. You started at the beginning.
I started when I couldn't stop. Like discusses aliens, because she kind of does it not as an afterthought, but it's like that's not what this is about, right? It's like we're not really here for the aliens. We're here for humanity. So she like she's like, the aliens, we can't interpret their language into English. It's more like sounds. So their planet is like a cricket. It sounds like a cricket jumping on rice. So she refers to it as like the rice cricket planet, something like that. And I appreciate that. So Adina is just reporting back on life as she ages and goes through it. Sierra's in the middle of it right now. And it is one of those books. It kind of reminded me of John Green's The Anthropocene Reviewed. Yeah, in the sense that it's just like
it is just reviewing the Anthropocene.
Yeah,
like humanity.
yeah. It's
just
like
talking about
humans
what's
are
happening.
weird. Yeah, they do this, and I don't really get it, but they do it. And sometimes it's pretty, and sometimes it's cruel, and that's humanity.
Yeah.
There's some like one-liners I have or little quotes.
There'd be times when I'm listening to this book, and I was listening to it, and I was like, okay, like, I'm vibing, and then all of a sudden, she'll write a line, and I'm like, how the heck did you just do that, man?
Yeah.
Sit down.
And it's like, there's a part of, because she's an alien, she's able to have this perspective of, like, innocence and kind of, like, unawareness.
Yeah.
And, like, of otherness, writing about something from the outside.
Yeah.
So she explains things very blatantly in
and
ways
like,
that we don't think about anymore because it's so ingrained in our society.
Right.
But for her, it's new, and she's like, why do they do this?
All of a sudden, there's a line about capitalism and how it influences our culture, and I was like...
Yeah.
But it's not, like, straight up like that. It's not like capitalism influences our culture.
Yeah.
It's just describing an event she watched, and you're like, that's the result.
Yeah.
And you can see it in a new way. Brilliant for that.
Like, she describes, like, making friends in middle school, which, as we all know, is tough. And, like, just all these things. There's two things I want to read.
Okay.
So this one, she's just reflecting. She says, plants are the Earth's hair. Genius and ingenious mean the same thing. Same goes for thaw and dethaw.
And I was like, I've never said dethaw in my life.
Yeah, but I get it.
Yeah.
She goes, why are there two words for what you do to a frozen chicken and only one word for missing your best friend? Or the look Pat Sajak gives to Vanna White when they walk to their separate stations at the beginning of every Wheel of Fortune episode? Why is there only one word for waiting? And not even one word for when you discover only after pouring your cereal that there is no milk.
Oof, there should be a word for that.
Right?
There really should be a
There
word
really
for
should be a
that.
word. Or like that phenomenon, that feeling.
Yeah, that feeling. Because it's an exact feeling.
It is an exact feeling.
It happens in my tummy.
And then this other line that we were at a coffee shop reading it, I showed my friend and I was like, this should just be the whole book. She said, the ego of the human male is by far the most dangerous aspect of human society.
I heard that. I was like, she just said it straight up. That's crazy.
And that was like the whole fact.
Yeah.
It was one line.
It was one line.
And I was like, honestly, close the book. That's it. That's the whole thing.
That's so funny. Yeah,
So
I remember
yeah,
hearing that.
it was a really cute just reflection on humanity.
We like that a lot, don't we?
We
We
do.
just like thinking about humans.
Yeah. So if you want the like non-fiction version of this, go check out John Green's The Anthropocene
Yeah.
Reviewed. But this is also a really fun way to just kind of reflect on us
Yeah.
and like the dynamicism.
I say that word all the time.
Okay.
I write it more than I say it, but like I say that word all the time.
Of humanity. Yeah, all the things that we're capable of. So check it out, Beautyland. Beautyland. You know what I mean. Go to the next book. Okay, another one from the comments. This is one that I truly don't think I would have known about without you guys. So
100%.
I really appreciate it. Same with like Devil's
I wouldn't
Fine.
have even picked this up at the store.
This is Close to the Knives by David Wojnarowicz. I think I did that
I
right.
think you did it right.
Okay.
I think according to the internet, you did it right.
Yeah. So the subtitle is A Memoir of Disintegration. And when I first read this book, I read it as a memoir of disintegration. Does that make sense?
You said the same word.
I need you to catch my brain. A memoir of disintegration, and then a memoir of... Come here.
That's no dumb.
No. A memoir of disintegration and a memoir of disintegration.
So which one did you think it was?
The second one.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
think it's both.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's a double entendre. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay.
The more you say those words, the less they become real in my head.
That's fair. Semantic
Disintegration?
asphyxiation. Sorry.
That is the term.
That is
the
the
term.
term.
That is the term. He's correct.
Anyway.
We're such nerds now.
So this is a collection of this author's works as they live through the AIDS crisis. And they kind of are located throughout the U.S., like in the West a little bit in Arizona, and also mostly in New York. So I'd say like read your content warnings, not necessarily your trigger warnings, but like your content warnings for this book. There's a lot of death. Like the AIDS crisis, there was a lot of
Pain.
Yeah, I don't even remember what this one
He
said.
just wrote pain.
Yeah.
You read some passages to me, and I was like, well, dang.
There were some like
That's
such
pretty good.
heavy hitting lines in this book.
It like felt James Baldwin-esque.
It did. It started off a little choppy because it started with two really short stories. So I was like, what are we doing here?
Fiction or nonfiction?
Nonfiction.
I don't know. That's not a thumbs up or thumbs down. It's just more of like a
Yeah, okay.
yes or no.
I got you.
Okay.
Like, tick this box.
Yeah.
Nonfiction. Yeah, lives through the AIDS crisis. It's a lot of reflection on what's going on around him. A lot of just watching your friends die slowly. And then he himself also dies from AIDS, I think in his 30s.
That's crazy. If you've seen Tick Tick Boom, I think they do a good job of that too.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing I have to give this book credit for, I love this book, but like the one thing that stuck with me is I have never read a book that describes rage in a better way than this did. He talks about, I might read the passage, we'll see how I'm feeling, how when your government fails you repeatedly and then also blames you while your community is literally dying in front of you, there is like a rage, like a justifiable rage that is so deep within you, and you're like, I'm about to go crazy. Like, I'm about to throw stuff at the walls. I'm about to like commit some crimes. I won't, but like I am like the line between like my sanity and going nuts is so thin, and it gets thinner every day. And like I am hanging on by a thread because the things that I see on a daily basis versus the things that the politicians say in response to what's happening down here is crazy, and I can't justify it, and it infuriates me. And I was reading that and I was like, it knocked it out of the park. Such great description. Yeah, I am gonna read the passage because this is my YouTube channel. So
They like when you read though. Read
buckle
time
up.
with John.
Yeah. And as each T cell disappears from my body, it's replaced by 10 pounds of pressure. 10 pounds of rage, and I focus that rage into non-violent resistance. But that focus is starting to slip. My hands are beginning to move independent of self-restraint, and the egg is starting to crack. America, America, America seems to understand and accept murder as a self-defense against those who would murder other people, and it's been murder on a daily basis for 9 long years, and we're expected to pay taxes to support this public and social murder, and we're expected to quietly and politely make house in this windstorm of murder. But I say, there's a politician that had better increase the security forces, and there's religious leaders and healthcare officials that had better get bigger effing dogs and higher effing fences and more complex security alarms for their homes. And queer bashers better start doing their work from inside howitzer tanks, because the thin line between the inside and the outside is beginning to erode. And at the moment, I'm a 37-foot tall, 1,172 pound man inside this 6-foot body, and all I can feel is the pressure. All I can feel is the pressure and the need for release. So yeah, quotes like that throughout this book. So many things that are unfortunately still pertinent and like things that we're still struggling with as a society, as an American society specifically. So I do highly recommend this book. I think I gave it a 4.75. It might be a 5.
I want to read the essay you were reading that you read to me. The lines that you read to me.
Oh, the one just now?
No. There was another essay that you read towards the beginning. And I loved it.
Yeah.
So I think I might read like specific excerpts from
That's fair. Yeah. It's so good. I wrote all up and down this one, and I didn't have a pencil with me, so I wrote it in pen. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? It'll be fine. That's everything.
Wow. I read a lot of other things. Like, I read like 90% of one book. I read 60% of another book. I'm just out here reading parts of books.
That's fair.
So you'll catch that in the next wrap-up.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let us know what you've been reading for the first month and a half-ish of 2025.
And I won't buy books, but I want to know.
I did buy books. I'll get into that more. I bought those last 2.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But we're reading the books on our shelves. These books are now on my shelves. So
that is not the take. That's a violation of the rules.
Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.
See ya.